Yo, what's going on, guys? It's G Miners here. Real quick, I wanted to announce that we do now have memberships on the channel. If you guys like the videos and want to support with more than just a like or sub, you can do so with the join button below. Thanks. On a lot of my videos and in my streams, which you should also definitely check out, link below, people are constantly asking about high stat armor, how to get high stat armor drops, and then also how to get things like triple 100 stat builds. So in this video, I'm going over all of that. If you just need to know the best place to farm or how to optimize builds or whatever else, I will have chapters added below so you can skip around. Let's start with a quick overview on how stats work in Destiny 2. Most importantly, what is a high stat armor piece? I consider anything that is a 64 to a 68 roll a high stat armor drop. For all legendaries, 68 stat points is the absolute highest you can get to drop. Every time I make a video surrounding this topic, someone comments to tell me that they have something higher. If you do, it's either an outdated armor drop from a legacy system, or it's an exotic piece of armor. But as of right now, for legendaries, 68 is the highest base roll. From there, you can masterwork armor for +2 to each stat for a total of 12 additional stat points. So this is going to jump you up to an 80 stat roll. And then you can also add one stat boost mod for another 10 points to make it a 90 roll in total. This is going to be possible on all 4 of your main armor pieces, these being the head, arms, chest, and legs. So in total, if you had everything at max, this would be 90 stat points times 4 pieces of armor, which is going to be 360 total stat points. After this, you can also masterwork and add an armor mod for your class item for an additional 22 points, so the max comes out to 382 stats. Even if you manage to only get 64 stat rolls across the board for every piece of armor, this would still come out to around 366 stat points, which is still extremely good. Other than this, the only other way in the game to add more stats is to use mods and fragments. Mod-wise, Powerful Friends is going to give you +20 mobility, and then Radiant Light is going to give you +20 to strength. Both of these are arc mods in the combat style mod slot, aka the final mod slot, and they both require a secondary arc mod to activate these bonus stat points. Fragment wise, each subclass can give you around 40 to 50 stat points depending on which class you run. This is going to depend on which aspects give you the most fragment slots, and then also which fragments you choose to run. If your goal is to hit triple 100 stats or even quad 100s, which is possible, then fragments are going to be needed in most cases. But in my opinion, I would rather not have perfect stats and keep on the fragments that make my subclass play the best, but it's your call. Okay, so now that you know where all the stat points in the game come from, let's briefly go over how to get certain rolls that you want. Obviously, you can be getting 68 rolls every day of the week, but if they aren't spec'd into the right stats, then they're going to be useless for your build. So how do you get what you want? First off, we need to know that there are 2 stat buckets, also known as stat groupings. Grouping 1 is the top 3 stats, mobility, resilience, and recovery. Grouping 2 is the bottom 3, discipline, intellect, and strength. Each and every time you roll a piece of armor, around half of these stats will be going into one group and then half in the other. I have a full video linked below going over in detail exactly how these work, but for something like a perfect 68 roll, this means 34 stats will be distributed amongst the top grouping and then 34 in the bottom grouping. Each and every stat must also have a minimum of 2 points, so this means that the highest amount that any one armor piece can have for one single stat is going to be 30 points. Understanding this is super important for the next part of the video. Ghosts have what are called armorer mods. These are going to guarantee that any armor you get has a minimum of 100 points in the stat you choose. If I have a discipline mod on, I will get at least 10 discipline. If I have a recovery mod on, I'm going to get at least 10 recovery, and the same will be true for every stat. But depending on what stats you want, you will need to choose different mods, and this is where the groupings come into play. Pick 3 stats that you want to aim for on any given build, then figure out which 2 stats are in the same grouping. For my personal build, I wanted resilience, recovery, and then discipline. That means resilience and recovery are grouped together. Then just apply the ghost mod for the stat that is not in the group. Again, for me, that would end up being discipline. Also note that you cannot achieve triple 100 stats if all three are in the same grouping. If all three are in the same grouping, getting each stat as high as possible becomes increasingly harder and will require mods and fragments. With this method, I will start earning a lot of armor that is high in discipline. It's going to have a minimum of 10, but this tends to go a lot higher when actually farming. Then all I need is to have armor drop with an even split between resilience and recovery. It doesn't have to be dead even, just a decent amount of each. If I were to farm for one of the other two stats, then I would end up getting super high rolls for only one of these stats. So I would need to farm multiple different sets of armor to get exactly what I need, and then I would need to mix and match high resilience armor with high recovery armor, and then also hope that these rolls get high discipline. This armor piece is a perfect example where I farmed with a discipline focus. It got a good amount of resilience and recovery, and then also got a ton of discipline. On the other hand, this is what I got when farming for resilience armor. I am still able to use it, but you can see a ton of resilience and discipline, but my recovery is a lot lower. It's at 14, but only because I have a recovery mod on. Overall, this method has been the best farming strat for me, and this is what others in the community also tend to use. With that, you now know how armor stats work and how to control which stats you get for good armor spreads. So now, how do you farm armor that drops with high total stat rolls? This is my personal list in order for the best places to farm. Number 1, by a factor of like 10, is going to be Master Duality. In the last year of playing the game, I have never seen a better place to farm high stat armor. And this is also going to be Artifice Armor, which is an added bonus. You want to farm the Keitel encounter because you get double drops here, and armor tends to be much more likely. On top of this, compared to all other places I have farmed, these have been the most consistent high stat rolls. You will commonly get 64 stats and above, and the spreads on their own are really good too. Number 2 on the list are Master Raids. Master Vow, Master Vogue, and then eventually Master Kingsfall should all have armor focuses when they are in rotation. This is an old clip of Master Vow. You can see that the armor dropped this week was with an intellect focus. If you are going for multiple stats, this is another place where you can get guaranteed distributions. Think of this as applying a second ghost mod. The drops won't be as good in total stat points from what I've seen, but the spread of stats should be much better overall. Number 3, in my opinion, which is for ease of use, are going to be the Helm vendors. These are the War Table, the Crown of Sorrow, and now the Star Chart, all offering high stat roll armor. All you need is some Umbral Engrams and then the respective Umbral energy to spend. These rolls are not as good, nor are the spreads. However, this is a great way to get armor drops very quickly. And with the right upgrades, you can also choose which armor piece you get. I tend to use this method for filler armor pieces. So when something like my helmet or boots are lacking, this is where I can quickly get 5 to 10 rolls of just that armor piece. And typically I'll get something around 64 points with a decent spread that is usable. If you cannot do master content, this is also a really easy method to use. After that, for number 4, I would recommend Master Throne World activities. Master Wellspring and Master Story missions both drop high stat roll Veritas armor. Master Wellspring specifically is a very good farm if you want to farm quickly with a 6 stack, and this tends to also be relatively easy. And then lastly, just as a bonus, number 5 is going to be regular raids and dungeons. For people who like to casually raid and run dungeons each week, but don't want to run seasonal activities or do master content, these are still extremely good farms for armor rolls. You can always go farm the weekly rotation for unlimited armor drops as well. The rolls here are kind of hit or miss, but again, for something that tends to be more fun and can be endlessly farmed, it's a great final option. Anyways, that is everything you need to know about armor stats, farming high stat armor, and triple 100 builds. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments below or join the Discord server and ask me there. If you liked the video, don't forget to drop a like and sub down below. As always, have a good one, guys. Peace.